Business Bites with Kay Chauhan.
We love Wandsworth Radio.
This is Business Bites with Kay Chauhan. Love it or loathe it, if you run a business, you won't be able to get away from it. What am I talking about? The business pitch. Yes, that's the dreaded 30-second elevator pitch. Next, I talk to local businesses about the perfect pitch.
Wandsworth Radio.
Welcome back to Business Bites with Kay Chauhan.
Fuse boards and sockets and electric shower. Things can go wrong if you lose all your power. If your oven is broken, your doorbell.
In business, the pitch is one of the key marketing tools to get right. It should convey which your business is, what kind of service or product you offer, and why it should be of relevance to the person you're speaking to. Whether you're honing your 30-second elevator pitch or talking about your business's service in a conversational style, it's important to get it pitch perfect with the right tone and messaging. I talked to some Wandsworth business owners about the trials and tribulations of getting the pitch right. Here's Will McKinlay of Wide and Wonderful, and also the pitch that you've been listening to. He explains how his 30-second song pitch captures people's attention and makes him very memorable.
Yes, well, I think it gives, it's like a kind of unique selling point when I go to my network meetings, etc. It means people remember me, hopefully for that reason. Because I don't know if you've experienced these sessions, and sometimes people can just drone on, and really it's got to be short and snappy and memorable. So that's my take on it.
Here's Nigel Davey of SME Needs. He advises business startups and those looking to grow. He says there are two ways to get your pitch right, depending on the environment and who you're with. He also says it's never a good idea to sell on the first pitch date.
That initial conversation you're having with somebody to elicit interest and to I suppose, whet their appetite to want to have further conversations. And then further down the process, then there'll be a point where you're invited to pitch, invited to tender for the particular piece of business they've got. So that's, I suppose, the two ways I generally define pitch.
Is it really important to be pitch perfect, or is it better to be conversational?
In different circumstances, it is good to be pitch perfect. If you're at networking events, generally it's a conversational piece. At least that's my way of thinking. You need to know what you want to get across, but people can very quickly tell whether it's a rehearsed 60 seconds or elevator pitch. So if you're in a formal networking group, absolutely you need that 60 seconds elevator pitch. In less formal networking, know what you want to get across, but keep it conversational, and I suppose most importantly, react to what the other people that you're talking to actually say.
Now, I'm interested in the different ways that men and women business owners do this. Women, it has been cited, need to have a bit more confidence. Do you think there's any general difference about women pitching in terms of business?
I do believe they do need to have some more confidence. There are, I suppose, people are, certainly women, are more hesitant to big themselves up. They do sometimes come across with comments like, I'm sure I can be used to, whereas some men, admittedly the other end of the scale, will go, yep, I can definitely help. I don't know whether it's a confidence thing or it's just a natural, I don't want to sound too confident or too aggressive, and that may actually be the reasons for it. But I think there is, I suppose, a step up that some women can make when they are sort of at networking events and wanting to put themselves forward and get themselves recognised and become somebody who is looked out for or actively sought to be spoken to at networking events or even online networking, LinkedIn and things.
Now, a lot of gurus say that in terms of building relationships, it's important to know, like, and trust your potential business partner or client. So is it important for all that to take place? And in a business environment or a networking environment, it's not necessarily the right time if you first meet someone to actually, sell to them.
The first time you meet somebody, the last thing you should be doing is selling to them. You at that point have no real idea of what they do. You have no, I suppose, true understanding of the issues that business is currently facing, and therefore you don't know whether you can help them. Unless you're selling office supplies, which obviously everybody needs at some point or other, but if you're selling services, you can't do it properly at that point because you don't know what they need. And people, I think, they instinctively turn off if someone starts selling to them at a networking event anyway.
Okay, in terms of generating business, what percentage of time do you spend on pitching or networking, and what percentage of that culminates in getting business?
It's what I do. It's what I tell my clients to do, is to actually measure their marketing performance. So I spend 10 or 15 minutes a day on online networking, so on the social media channels, so Twitter and LinkedIn predominantly, and I probably average one networking event a week. What that results in is about 75% of my business comes through networking and referral.
Managing Director of South West London TV, Peter Fyson, recently entered Richard Branson's Pitch to Rich contest. He definitely recommends competitions. He says it forces you to get your own thoughts straight, get clarity on what you're offering people in your business, and there's also the potential for free publicity.
Yes, competitions are well worth getting into anyway because they're a great form of publicity, but I guess pitches and competitions force you to get your own thoughts straight and get clarity about what you're really offering to people in your business. Also, for small to medium-sized enterprises like ours, the managing director or owner is often the best placed person to promote the business, and for better or worse, people seem to form an opinion about the company based on, the first 30 to 60 seconds of meeting you at a networking event or a trade exhibition. So the clarity, the compelling quality of what you say, and the confidence that you have when you give your, if you call it a pitch or just answering the question, so what is it that you do? I think that's really critical in the first few seconds of meeting somebody. It's also really worthwhile getting your thoughts straight, because I've lost count of the number of times that people ask you that question. So tell me about South West London TV. What do you do? What do you offer? And as a business person, whether you're on a sales call or if you're putting something in an email or dealing with a telephone inquiry, it's the question that just gets asked a million times. So you really should have a good answer to it, I think.
So the pitch process is really important and you need to get it right to make an impression.
Yeah, although to think of it in terms of right and wrong, I think of it more as an evolving pitch. As I tweak what I do and as I hear myself and get feedback from others, I'm always trying new ways of saying what it is that we do and trying to put it from the perspective of the person who might be receiving the services rather than it being a sales pitch trying to sell them something.
And can you go through Pitch the Rich process? You did your video pitch. Did you have to go in front of anybody else in the other round at all?
No, sadly we didn't get through to the finals, which is we actually had on Friday the 26th, which was where the 9 finalists go in front of Richard Branson himself. But it was largely based on a video pitch, and that pitch was to the mass audience, to the public, and they had a couple of rounds of voting. So based on the quality of your video pitch, the public would vote for you, and then the intermediate round was a panel of judges who were looking at the more businessy information, so your marketing plan and your sales projections and things like that, to look at the viability and innovativeness of your idea. There were those three stages, and then the final, which, as I say, happened last week.
And in terms of your pitch making an impact on generating business, has this been quite crucial since you started South West London TV?
I think so. As I say, I view it more as a marketing tool than a sales tool. So often it's just planting a seed in people's minds, and they might not have a need for what we do when I meet them the first time, but if they remember South West London TV and roughly what it is we do, then maybe in a few months' time, that seed will grow and they'll come back to us and they'll say, oh, I remember you were the guys who do local community reports and we've got this event coming up, would you like to cover it for us? So it's difficult to really say, how or measure how the pitch has helped get us known and get business for us, but I can't imagine being at any of these networking events or doing any of our marketing without a nice crisp way of saying what is it that we do.
A lot of people start their business because they really enjoy doing the work that they do, but sometimes they get caught up as the business owner in doing all this other stuff. Is it important for the business owner to get this right, or should someone else in their business be doing it if they love doing this whole getting in front of people and doing the pitch and selling the business?
I can only answer for the sort of size company that we are, and although I'd love to have a massive sales and marketing team who did this for me, because I really don't think I'm good at sales, and it's the least enjoyable part of what I do. However, I think it's unavoidable, and if you're not passionate about what you do, and if you can't convey that clearly to people, then nobody else is going to do it for you. So certainly for the size of business that we are and big, I think you've got to lead by example and convey that passion and enthusiasm and clarity.
Okay, so with the experience you've had with pitching so far, what's your number one tip for the perfect pitch?
This is a tip that I borrowed actually from the former sales director of the QVC shopping channel. He came along to a Wandsworth Chamber of Commerce meeting and gave a really nice demonstration and pitch about pitching. The takeaway that I had there was, don't think of it as a sales pitch. Describe a problem that people have and tell them how you can help them with that problem. In other words, your pitch should be from their perspective, and it should answer the question, well, why would I need that?
Charles Johnson is the business development manager for a removals company, Gentleman and a Van. Although his firm's name and branding distinguishes it from the competition, he says pitching is still critical to catch people's attention and showcase the business.
No, I'd say definitely the pitch does really work very, very well, and it is quite critical because that's made one initial impact with, or sort of interest with seeing the van, but then the pitch is something really to follow up. It's the first actual impression that somebody's having when they're talking to you and when you're greeting them. So it's really critical to catch people's attention. Also, a lot of your pitches might be at networking events where people haven't come across the vans or seen the vans. So it's a real opportunity to showcase the business.
While doing the networking and attending events, the businesses I talk to admit they've heard their fair share of bad pitches. Here's some that really stood out for them, but not in a good way.
Really, I think the worst thing that I've heard is people just have been so quiet. You know, you can't hear people. It's got to be clear and it's got to be loud.
Perhaps the worst one I ever had was a couple of years ago now. I was talking to someone I hadn't seen for some time, and this gentleman came up and basically said, sorry to interrupt, I don't know what either of you do, I don't know whether I will ever need your services, but I guarantee you'll need mine. And he did a 15-second pitch to us at that point, thrust his business cards in our hands and walked off. And from memory, he either ran a care home or he was a funeral director. I really can't remember. But
that's hilarious.
Absolutely. So actually, his story is right. Yeah, we're going to need, if he was a funeral director, my family are going to need his services at some point in the future. But it was the wrong time, place, approach, and attitude to get me to even think about keeping his card for the next sort of 60 or 70 years.
One of the real worst pitches I'd say is when somebody says, "Oh, hold on, I'm not very good at this. Sorry, I've lost my train of thought." I think people need to know that you don't think that you're very good at it. Just keep on going and have faith.
I have to confess, it was my own pitch the first time I tried it. And I recorded it, I played it back, and it wasn't me talking. It looked like some warped caricature of a second-hand car salesman. But what it taught me was that you really have to say your pitch out loud in front of people, friends, family, business colleagues, people in your company, and keep tweaking and evolving it. Because if you just write it down, what looks great on paper, I think, rarely translates well to a conversation. And as I say, when I did my first pitch, that was painfully obvious.
When the lights dim, when the fuel blows, things can drive you mad. Remember the golden rule, ring wide and wonderful, then you won't feel so bad.
Well, there you have it, some sage advice and tips about what to do and say when pitching, and the kind of pitches to avoid. Thanks to all my contributors for this month's edition of Business Bites. And lastly, I'd like to thank you for your company this last hour on Business Bites. I look forward to providing the latest business news and features next month in July on the last Sunday of the month. This is Kay Chauhan from Business Bites.
Business Bites with Kay Chauhan.